This is the single most important thing that fact checkers do. Fact checkers do something very special when they come to evaluate a new website. But before I tell you what that is, let's take a look at what people like you and I do when we go to evaluate a website. Okay, so I'm going to go to this website. Let's see what it's about. It looks like a climate science website, maybe from the 90s or something. It looks a little old. I'm going to go to the About page here, and that's going to tell me what I want to know. Okay, it's a nonprofit. It's a climate science group. Maybe I'll check out the references section. Okay, lots of references. Seems pretty good. And that's it. We look at the About page. We look for some signs of reliability just from the website itself, and then we just decide, yeah, it seems pretty good. Except this particular website is funded by groups that deny climate science and oppose mitigating the effects of climate change. I've conducted some experiments on fact-checking myself, and it is crazy how people will look for any excuse they can find to determine that a website is reliable. For instance, a lot of people will say, well, if it's a .org domain name, then it's automatically going to be reliable. Or some people will say the complete opposite. If it's a .org domain name, then they automatically think that it's not reliable. If the website has a lot of references, well, that's another sign that people rely on. There's also official sounding names. So let's take these two names, for example. One of these is a legit organization, and the other one is not quite what it seems to be. Now, I leave it as an exercise for the viewer to figure out which one is which. You can pause this video, take a few minutes to do your own Google sleuthing, and come back and I'll tell you what the answer is in about a minute. Another factor people rely on is the rank on Google. So a high search rank means that the website is more reliable. Or if it's referenced by other websites, well, that makes it more reliable. People also look for scientific looking graphs or images, and they look for, people with credentials, with PhDs that are running the website. The thing is, all of these factors are just not that helpful. What do fact checkers do that's so different from everything I've just said? Well, the first thing they do is they leave the website. Some fact checkers are doing this within the first 6 seconds of getting to something that they are evaluating. They leave that website that they're looking at to go look and see what other websites say about the one that they're looking at. This is the single most important thing that fact checkers do. You want to look at other websites to see what those other websites say about the target website that you're evaluating. Chances are, if the website that you're looking at is not very reliable, they're not going to say that on the About page, and they're probably going to have a lot of references and a lot of scientific images and all these kinds of things because they know that people are looking for those things to determine whether it's reliable. For instance, if you go to Wikipedia, you can pretty easily determine which of those two organizations that I mentioned earlier has something like 666,000 members and puts out the premier journal in pediatrics, and which of those two organizations does not. Now, if you were fooled here, don't feel bad. Even academics, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, who presumably have some expertise in evaluating information, they couldn't even tell after a few minutes of sleuthing on the internet which of these organizations was more legit. Now, there's other bits of knowledge that help fact checkers do their job well. When they do go to do a search on Google for something, they tend to go deeper into the results than people like you and I. Instead of just relying on the first, 2 or 3 results, they're looking and going a few pages into the results to look to see if they're missing anything. It also helps to know where you can find reliable information on other websites. But the most important thing to do is to get out of that website so that you can see, what other organizations are saying about that website or that article, who has funded that website, how old the information is, all that kind of good stuff. If you want more tips on how experts think, take a look at this video, which is about how graduate students think differently than undergrads.